it's kind of weird because normally the Duke players, but this year was kind of hard to pronounce or hard to even remember who the players were for Duke were, which is you can tell we're in a different year. And who right now leads the rankings for college basketball player of the year? Well, of course, I've kind of already mentioned him a lot. Luka Garza for Iowa. But after that, there's a lot of good players. Jared Butler, Jalen Suggs, Cade Cunningham. Joey Hauser was pretty impressive for Michigan State against Duke. I don't think he's the best, but definitely in the running. Remy Martin from Arizona State is solid. But that right now are the players right now that should be in the running for college basketball player of the year, the AP, Naismith, and the Wooden Award. Some big news in the basketball world. The Washington Wizards and the Houston Rockets have agreed on a trade, first reported by ESPN senior NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. The Wizards have agreed to trade John Wall and a 2023 first-round pick of the Rockets for Russell Westbrook. This is the first big trade made by new general manager Raphael Stone for the Houston Rockets. Stone took over for the Rockets job after Daryl Morey resigned and took the Philly job. The Rockets' main priority in the offseason was to acquire more first-round picks, and they've acquired 3 this offseason. Last season, Westbrook was traded from OKC to Houston to join his former buddy and teammate James Harden. However, during the season, Westbrook was unhappy with Houston and wanted to take control of the offense. With him now being traded to the Wizards, he can finally be the floor general and handle the ball most of the time. He'll be paired up with All-NBA player Bradley Beal. Last season, Beal signed a 1-year extension with the Wizards, but he's a free agent in 2021 if he declines his player option. Multiple rumors are saying he will likely leave Washington if they don't go far in the playoffs this season. According to Adrian Wojnarowski, Houston at the moment has no plans to trade James Harden, who wants right now to play in Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. In fact, Houston has no plans at all of trading him and expects James Harden will be the team when the season begins. All right, first question is, who wins this trade? In my opinion, I gave it up to you guys. I gave you the chance to vote on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Sportstown Podcast, and you guys were 50-50 at the moment. So I think the Washington Wizards won this trade. Yes, they had to give up a first-round pick. Yes, they had to give up John Wall. But John Wall has been injured for a long time. He's always been battling injuries, it seems like. He hasn't played since, 2017 or 2018. So I think now when you acquire Russell Westbrook, who does have injuries himself, Westbrook is a better point guard than John Wall is. And I think with Russell Westbrook now, he can I think he fits a little better with Bradley Beal than with James Harden because both Westbrook and Harden wanted the ball a lot. Beal doesn't want the ball as much as James Harden. And I think with Russell Westbrook, he can now kind of lead this offense. And I think it's a good trade, though, for the Rockets as well, because, again, you get rid of Russell Westbrook, you acquire John Wall. Now, John Wall has to be healthy, but when he's healthy, he is an elite point guard. That's kind of the big question, though, right now. Can he stay healthy? And I think that was kind of why the Wizards traded him, because they were just tired of waiting, and they wanted to win. And also, Russell Westbrook reunites with his former coach, Scott Brooks. They went to the finals together back in 2012 when the team had Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins. They had all those players, and now Scott Brooks, of course, is a free agent after this season's, or his contract ends after the season. So really, he has no excuse. He's got to lead them playoffs, and he's got to go far, because if the Wizards don't, they'll be finding a new coach after the season is over. Will the Rockets now trade James Harden? I don't think so. I think they really have plans to. They expect James Harden to be with the Rockets when the season begins, and I think they want to run at least one more year. See how well it goes. They added DeMarcus Cousins. They still have PJ Tucker. They have Eric Gordon, who was unhappy. Now we haven't heard much about it, but I guess he's fine now. So it'll be interesting, but I don't think they're going to go small ball. I think the Rockets kind of are going to abandon that. We'll see what Steve Silas, the new head coach for the Rockets, wants to do. He was assistant with the Mavericks, and he was a key. He was instrumental in helping Luka be the way how Luka plays the game. So it could be similar to what the Mavericks do, but I don't think small ball is really in the cards for the Rockets this year. I think they know that's not going to work, and it's going to be different, too, when you have John Wall, who's a little different than Russell Westbrook. So I don't think the Rockets are going to trade James Harden. I think they want to run it back one more year. Are the Rockets rebuilding? Well, no, they're not, because they just acquired another All-NBA point guard. So pretty much they just swapped Russell Westbrook and John Wall, who both had massive contracts. I think John Wall has a bigger contract, but it doesn't really matter. Again, the Rockets, I don't think are really concerned about that. But I don't think I think the Rockets want to run it one more year, and they want to win again. I think, again, they were very close a few years ago. Last year, they got bounced in the second round. They did end up being the Thunder, but the Thunder mean, they should have beat the Thunder by 5 or 6 games, not in 7, because they barely won that game and they had to, again, go into 7 games. So the Rockets weren't really impressive last year. Now, James Harden and Russell Westbrook both had to deal with injuries, but again, it just shows you that small ball doesn't work. But I don't think the Rockets are rebuilding. I think they want to run it one more. Sorry, they want to run it back one more year. I think they have a very good chance. And the Western Conference is loaded this year, especially with the Suns getting better. The Lakers are still there. The Clippers are still there. The Nuggets are still there. The Warriors are going to be in the playoffs this year. They have no Klay Thompson, but you do add a healthy Steph Curry, a healthy Draymond Green, and you added Kelly Oubre in the mix. And of course, you can't forget about guys like Andrew Wiggins, and they drafted James Wiseman. So the West is going to be very tough, but I think the Rockets want to try one more year. How well does Russell Westbrook and John Wall do with their teams? I think they do very well. If they can both stay healthy, the Rockets and the Wizards will go in the playoffs and will at least get to the second round. I'll start with Washington first. Yes, they have Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal now. I think that's a playoff team. The Eastern Conference will be better next year because, again, you have Brooklyn. You can't forget about Toronto. Milwaukee still has Giannis. I mean, Miami just went to the finals last year, shocked a lot of people, took the Lakers without their full squad to 6 games. So the Eastern Conference is definitely tougher, but I do think the Wizards can at least manage to get out of the first round and get to the second. I say they win. Well, they're only going to play 72 games this year. I can see them winning 42, 43, 44 games, kind of being in that 5th seed. But I definitely think they can win the first round. Well, yeah, I think they can at least go to the second round, especially when you got 2 really good players in Russell Westbrook and John Wall. Or not, Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. Now we go to Houston, where they had John Wall and James Harden. I think Eric Gordon will probably be the 3. Kind of not really sure how that. Maybe they will go small ball. I'm just trying to see what the Rockets will do with that lineup. I don't think DeMarcus Cousins starts. I think he comes off the bench. But to be honest with you, I don't think the Rockets do as good as they did last year. I could see them winning about the same amount of games as Washington does, but I can't see them being a 5th seed. They'll probably end up being a 6th or 7th seed, and they'll probably get bounced in the first round. So technically, I do think Washington will make it farther with Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal. And last but not least, is Bradley Beal going to stay in Washington next season? It just all depends how far the Wizards go. I think if they get to the second round in a pretty somewhat tough Eastern Conference, I think Bradley Beal will be encouraged and he'll sign the Supermax with the Wizards because I believe he will be eligible next year. And of course, Russell Westbrook, hopefully he's still happy in Washington. That would be a pretty good deal for him. But again, there's a lot of teams interested in him. Milwaukee's shown interest. Golden State has shown interest. Miami has shown interest, especially during the trade deadline. We'll really see. Well, it just depends on how good the Wizards are, because if they're not good before the trade deadline, they could move Bradley Beal away. And you can't forget about the Clippers, because the Clippers seem like they were very interested in Bradley Beal as well. But again, it all depends on how far Washington goes next year, which I do think if they make it past the first round, Bradley Beal is confident that this Wizards team can go farther and take the next step next year.